Wake up, go to school, get back, go to bed. Repeat for 18 to 25 years. Then, wake up, go to work, get back, go to bed. Repeat for another 40 years approximately. And finally, get up, if you still can, take your tablets, sleep, and repeat until finally dying. As of January 2023, there are 131.18 million full-time employees in the United States. According to an article released by the CNBC, 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. This basically means that the life plan I've just given you of surviving instead of living is the reality of well over 78,708,000 people. The chances of you living this life are pretty high. If this is something that worries you as much as it worries me, I want you to pay full attention to everything I'm about to say. Trust me, it could be life-changing. My name is Success Monkey. My goal is to snap you out of the systematic life you're living by changing the way you view life, making you break bad habits and helping direct you in the right path with my content so you inevitably reach success. If this is a journey you see yourself wanting to embark on, feel free to subscribe. This being said, focus. How does one escape? How does one cope? How does one live? I quit school almost a year ago now. No real plan on how to make money, but I did want to know who I was. Think about it like this. The way you act in front of your parents, then your friends, then your online friends, then girls, do you really think if they all met up and talked about your qualities and characteristics, they would all reach the same conclusions? The answer is no. It's normal to behave differently when put in different social circles. The problem being that if you don't ever isolate yourself, you don't know who you really are. You don't give yourself time to get to know yourself. Yeah, sure, you have a name, an identity, you like stuff, you feel things, you study, you work, you're a human being. They say the difference between an animal and a human being is the ability of being self-aware, but quite recently, people seem to have lost this ability. I'm sure you've heard of the term NPC, which stands for non-playable character. In video games, it's like an extra. It's pretending to be a person, but it doesn't really have any say in what it does. It just exists and does what it's programmed to do. Does this ring a bell? Yeah, if you didn't connect the dots already, I'll connect them for you. The lifestyle that I talked about at the beginning of this video is what we would call NPCs. Now don't get me wrong, working a 9-to-5 job, but being aware that the situation you're in is not something you want to be in the rest of your life, so you improve every single aspect of your life in order for them to align with your goals, is not an NPC move. NPC move would be to complain about it, but just accept that there's so many other people going through the same thing that it's just normal. But worry no more, because I've got a solution to all your problems. Stoicism. Stoicism is something I've known exists for years, but I only knew about it because of my philosophy classes. And the way that the education system works is they get a really interesting topic and manage to make it as boring and non-interesting as possible. It's actually quite sad because I feel like if instead of learning philosophers' names and years they were born, we could have dived more into what they spoke about and had debates surrounding those topics. People would have learned more and maybe even felt identified with some philosophies. Not to mention the incredible impact debating can have on one's communication skills and capacity of convincing. All I knew about Stoicism was the name Marcus Aurelius and what his face looked like. Now, almost 1 year after quitting school, I know so much about this philosophical movement that I've decided to share it with you. Not only that, but I feel like any problem you have, Stoicism has an answer for it. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, and I quote, "It's not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Really let that sink in and view your existence from a third person's perspective. How much of your life do you really feel you have control over? Open quote. The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. When doing something different to what everyone else is doing, it's normal to be labeled as insane, dumb, or delusional. But by doing exactly the opposite, you're embracing your true self and will soon discover the power of controlling your own mind, thoughts, and destiny. Open quote. It is the nature of the wise to resist pleasures, but the foolish to be a slave to them. Close quote. Isn't it just fascinating how such short and simple quotes can help someone morph into a better version of themselves? Whether you're watching this because you have a food addiction, or you're lazy, or you fear change, it doesn't really matter. What does is that by educating yourself on Stoicism and truly changing your mindset, you'll eventually start to feel superior to regular people. You will be in full control of your emotions, and nothing is stronger than that. Andrew Tate is currently going through some tough times right now. He's facing a trial and has been imprisoned at the time of the recording of this video for alleged human trafficking and rape charges. It doesn't really look like there's any proof to back up these allegations, and I strongly believe in innocent until proven otherwise. Regardless of the current situation he's in, I agree with a lot of things this man has to say, and I strongly believe that the impact he's had on young men is something very positive. The only negative side is sometimes, in the hopes of going viral, he says some things that are completely out of order, and the problem with this is he can start to attract the wrong audience. He's going to start getting approval from misogynists and incels, and therefore media only looks at the bad audience instead of the audience he's impacted positively. But it takes a couple of hours to watch in-depth podcasts and not out of context 15-second TikToks to understand what he truly defends. I stumbled upon a really interesting video about Andrew Tate talking about stoic men, and it made me really reflect on the subject. I personally find interesting listening to debate, especially when it's controversial people speaking, because it lets me kind of peek into their personalities, and after hearing someone talk for hours, you inevitably get to know them way more than anyone else who's just watched segments. Here's what he had to say.
If you cannot control your own mind, then you are just a feather in the wind of life. Because your own mind is the only thing you can control. You can't control the weather. Right. You can't control other people. You can't even control whether your heart stops beating. You might have a heart attack tomorrow. You can't control anything besides what you think.
The dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty. Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel, and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence, you get rapists. Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not gonna hurt people. He's gonna sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's gonna be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're gonna find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings, and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely and utterly wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely and utterly wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're gonna feel bad sometimes. You just suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
We live in a comfortable world now where people think, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. But you know what? To some degree, it does matter. It does matter, and I'm gonna tell you who it matters to. It matters to your soul, and it matters to God. I stand in the mirror with a pure heart. I know I am the best version of me that could possibly ever exist. I know that God is proud of me. There's nothing that God hates more than sloth and laziness. If God were to create a man and that man were to sit around and do fuck all, God will frown upon you. It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're fucking lazy. Start to work, start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become. Wow. God is unhappy with these people. And inside their hearts, they're unhappy. We talk about depression, anxiety. That comes from self-loathing. You loathe your own weakness. You loathe your own laziness. This is what all of these things are. I don't feel depression. How can I feel depression when I'm the most powerful version of me that I could ever fucking be? How can I feel depression when I could squeeze my own hand hard enough to break my own bones?
His overall message with this really stands with what Stoicism defends. I'm going to drop another 3 quotes, and I'll leave it to you to find the similarities. Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought, for the human spirit is coloured by such impressions. It's time you realised that you have something in you more powerful and miraculous than the things that affect you and make you dance like a puppet. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. What I recommend you do, if you really want to change your life, is to dig into Stoicism and reach your own conclusion. My way of doing this is watching videos that talk about certain aspects of Stoicism, reading Stoic books, listening to successful people talk about Stoicism, and eventually using your critical thinking to reach a conclusion on what you do and don't agree with. I have a little notebook where I write down quotes that I strongly agree with, and every time I feel stressed, angry or sad, I open the notebook and read what I've written to myself. At the end of the day, it's up to you to find what works best for you. But that's what I've been doing, and it's really been working wonders for my mental health and productivity. I lose less time worrying about what I can't control and manage to focus much more. I hope this video was interesting and sparked a little interest in you to really venture into this philosophical movement. Once again, if you want to start changing your life, first step is associating yourself with like-minded individuals. Check out my Discord server and make some friends. Find people to share your progress with and feel more accomplished than ever. Take care everyone, Monkey out.